What is going on, guys? In today's video I will show you the top 5 game breaking builds in last Epoch Season 2. So in this guide I will give you a quick overview of each setup, then I will explain what skills and upgrades should you focus on. Then as well we'll see what is the best gear and how to get it for the endgame. And then finally we will go over the passive tree, stats, your skill rotations, and even what idols and blessings should you use, so we would be able to get the highest damage possible and much more. So moving over to the first one, which is the Multishot marksman build, we will transform into a high-powered DPS machine that uses a lethal storm of physical projectiles to destroy enemies. Unlike a typical bow build, this version of the marksman is built to shotgun enemies up close using the Multishot, while also having the tools to hold its ground in close quarter fights. This build also makes strategic use of the shift, shurikens, smoke bomb, dark quiver, and unexpected decoy to provide a strong mix of buffs, utility, mobility, and defense. While the build excels at long range combat and area clearing, it does have trouble maintaining damage output and mana efficiency without certain uniques. So items like the Gel Core's compass will play a key role in letting you spam multi-shot consistently without the need of mana generation. Also, other powerful items like the Peak of the Mountain, Zytras, Kandarium, Nightbringer, Red Ring of the Altaria, Ravenous Void, and the Core of the Mountain are all very powerful to push the build's DPS and survivability to its full potential. So let's start off with our skills, and we are going to be using the Multishot as our main DPS tool. We will use these nodes to buff our AoE and single target DPS. Then second, we're using the Dark Quiver, however we won't equip it on our skill bar, as it will proc anyways thanks to the Until Dawn. So in its place we're going to be using a decoy and other nodes that increase our defense and frenzy buffs. Then next we're using the shift, which is our main movement skill. We will use it to provide buffs, get invulnerability thanks to the shadow slip, and much more. Then next we also got shurikens that provides an additional dash and automatic proc every time we use the shift. Our nodes are mainly meant to provide more armor and max out other perks. And finally we're using smoke bomb, which is great for defensive buffs and utility. Most of our nodes will provide cleanse, leave persistent slow behind our steps, and other effects. Next up we got the passive tree, and this is how it should look like in the rogue category. Then next we got our blade dancer category. Then also we got the falconer category, and then finally we are also using the marksman category with all of these points allocated like this. Next up we also got the weaver tree, and I'm still experimenting so it's not fully done, but for right now this is the most optimal way to build it for pretty much most of the builds. So we can start right here, then go like this, then pretty much keep making this type of circle, and then end it at around this point. Next up we have idols, and this is how it should look like. For more in-depth details, watch my dedicated build guide video, but for the quick summary, we're using 4 of these 1x1 minor weaver dolls. Then second we have 2 size 1x2 stout weaver idols. Then also we got 2 more size 2x1 humble weaver idols. And then lastly we have 2 size 4x1 heretical ornate idols. And as far as blessing goes, this is our setup. So we're using the Grand Emptiness of Ash, then the Grand Crash of the Waves, then also the Grand Resolve of Humanity, then even the Grand Bulwark of the Tundra, and lastly we also got the Grand Body of Obsidian. And now finally we got our equipment, and for the head we're using the Peak Mountain with the armor, increased damage per arrow, increased health, and increased critical strike chance. Then for the amulet we have the Zytras Conundrum with the health, critical strike multiplier, and increased dodge rating. Then for weapon we got the Gel Core's compass bow with the bow damage, physical bow damage, and increased critical strike chance. Then for the chest we got the Core of the Mountain with armor, increased damage per arrow, more to all attributes, and endurance. Then for quiver we got the Nightbringer with a chance to apply slow, increased bow attack speed, and physical bow damage. Then for rings we got the same 2 wands, which are the Red Rings of Altaria, with increased movement speed, critical strike avoidance, and more to all attributes. Then for belt we're using the Thorn Slinger with potion slots, health, and damage reflected to attackers. Then for gloves we got the Ravenous Void armor with vitality and health. Then for boots we got the Foot of the Mountain with armor, increased movement speed, and health. And lastly we got the Ancient Coin with increased critical strike chance, critical strike multiplier, and more to health. Then for the next one, we got the Warpath Void Knight build. This setup is built to dominate the battlefield with relentless spinning carnage. Our main gameplay loop is to keep spinning to ramp up our damage and area coverage, which essentially will sweep nearly the entire screen of enemies with the Warpath. This is the ultimate spin to win build. Our main focus is on the Warrior's Fury passive, which scales void melee damage and AoE to incredible levels. While the Warpath becomes mana hungry the longer it's used, the Void Well passive and high mana stacking will allow you to spin for extended periods. It's crucial to take the Void Well if you're using Warrior's Fury. And supporting skills like the Devouring Orb, Anomaly, Symbols of Hope and Abyssal Echoes will provide excellent buffs to amplify your power. This build works great without relying on uniques, but if you get your hands on items like the Clodo's Needle, Siphon of Anguish, Shattered Chains, Anchor of Oblivion, and the Nihils, then you can push its damage and effectiveness to an entirely new level. So let's start off with our skills, and we are going to be using the Warpath, which is our main DPS skill. By using these nodes, we will gain a huge damage and AoE buff, but also it will cost more mana, so our other nodes will focus on its reduction and increase to crit chance. Then second, we got the Devouring Orb, which is the main source of the Void Essence. Our nodes are focused on the extra damage, and we will place this skill on the skill bar, but not manually use it, as it's set up to automatically activate with the Abyssal Rush. Then next we got the Anomaly, which provides powerful buffs, and our nodes are focused on giving us Void Shred along with more attack speed. Then also we got Symbols of Hope that provide even more buffs. We will get bunch of extra effects with the Symbols of Despair, Heavenly Justice and the Sign of the Guardian. And lastly we got Abyssal Echoes that provide additional buffs and is automatically cast with the Warpath. Again, we won't manually cast it but place it on our skill bar. Next up we got the passive tree, and this says how it should look like in the Sentinel category. Then next we got our Paladin category, and then finally we're also using the Void Knight category with all of these points allocated like this. Next up we also got the Weaver tree, and as I'm still experimenting so it's not fully done, but for right now this is the most optimal way to build it pretty much for most of the builds. So we start right here, then go like this, then pretty much keep making this type of circle, and then end it at around this point. Next up we have idols, and this is how it should look like. For more in-depth details, watch my dedicated build guide, but for the quick summary, we are using 7 size 1x1 minor weaver idols, with one more 1x1 small weaver idol. Then next we have 2 more 2x1 humble weaver idols, and lastly we got 2 more size 4x1 heretical ornate solar idols. And as far as blessings go, this is our setup. So we are using the Grand Emptiness of Ash. Then second we got the Grand Light of the Moon. Then also we have the Grand Resolve of Humanity. Then we got even the Grand Resolve of Grael. And then lastly we have the Grand Patience of the Haircare. And now finally we got our equipment. And for the helmet we are using the Leon 9 Great Helm with armor, mana and reduced channel cost. Then for amulet we got the Nihils with increased health, more mana, increased movement speed, and more to levels of all skills. Then for the weapon we got the Clodo's Needle with melee damage, melee critical strike chance, increased melee attack speed, and void melee damage. Then for chest we got the Titan Heart with armor, lightning resistance, levels of Warpath and increased melee damage. Then for our first ring we got the Flames of the Midnight with the Void Decay, increased critical strike chance, and increased minion health. Then for belt we got a Shattered Chains with armor, potion slots, ward gain on potion use and more health. Then for the second ring we got the Siphon of the Anguish with the elemental resistance, strength and more to health. Then for gloves we got the Eternal Gauntlets with increased melee attack speed, mana and more health. Then for shoes we got the Solorian Step with armor, increased movement speed and melee critical strike multiplier. And lastly we got the Anchor of Oblivion with increased armor, mana, increased void damage and more endurance. This is a powerful spellcaster, which taps into the forbidden magic by using the Tonic Fissure that summons tormenting spirits from the depths below. These spirits will relentlessly pursue enemies and apply torment, which is a very powerful curse that deals sustained necrotic damage over time. While our main DPS comes from the Torment, we'll also use other spells for maximum impact, so by casting the Rib Blood it will directly grant us a significant damage boost. Meanwhile, the Tonic Fissure will activate Chaos Bolts, which can trigger a Rib Blood that creates a vicious chain of effects for widescreen explosions. Then also we will utilize the Profane Veil because it offers excellent survivability, and also cast Profane Orbs, which is an extra high damage spell. On top of this, these hit based spells will benefit from increased critical hit chance thanks to the Acid Skin granted by the Forbidden Chasm node. And for optimal performance, for gear I recommend to equip the Bone Clamor Barbute, which grants us ward based on necrotic resistance. Additionally, unique items like the Marinus Lost Soul, Pearls of the Swine, and the Twisted Heart of the heroes will play a major role in pushing our build to its maximum potential. So let's start off with our skills, and we are going to be using the Tonic Fisher with these type of points allocated. This is our primary source of damage, so we can use nodes that allow us to stack necrotic resistance or a massive damage boost. Then second, we got the Rib Blood, which is our mana regenerator and extra damage booster. We spend our points to mainly gain extra ward gained and more health/mana. Then next we got the Profane Veil, that provides us with godlike offensive and defensive buffs. We spend nodes to grant us big global damage multipliers. Then next we have the Chaos Bolts, that are triggered from the Chaotic Fisher, so we use nodes that boost our range and effects of it even more. And lastly we got the Bone Curse, that curses enemies for 5 seconds, so we use nodes that provide even more bone armor and inflict even more effects on top of everything else. Next up we got the Passive Tree, and this is how it should look like in the Acolyte category. Then next we got our Lich category, and then finally we are also using the Warlock category, with all of these points allocated like this. Next up we also have the Weaver tree, and as I'm still experimenting, so it's not fully done, but for right now this is the most optimal way to build it for pretty much most of the builds. So we start right here, then go like this, then pretty much keep making these type of circles and then end it at around this point. Next up we have our idols, and this is how it should look like. For more in-depth details, watch my dedicated build video, but for the quick summary, we are using 2 3x1 Grand Bone idols, then also 2 with a size 4x1 Ornate Bone idols, then also 2 with a size 1x1 Small Weaver idols, and then finally we have 2 with a size 1x2. And as far as our blessings go, this is our setup. So we use the Grand Emptiness of Ash, Grand Resistance of the Sea, Grand Resolve of Humanity, then Grand Bulwark of the Tundra, and then the Grand Body of Obsidian. And now finally we got our equipment, and for the head we're using the Bone Clamor Barbute, with main modifiers like the Curse Spell, Armor and Necrotic Resistance. Then for amulet we got the Pearls of the Swine with Physical Resistance, Critical Strike Multiplier and Necrotic Resistance. Then for weapon we got the Marine's Last Soul with Necrotic Spell Damage, Curse Damage and Critical Strike Multiplier. Then for chest we got the Immortal Regalia with armor, more levels to Chaotic Fisher and more necrotic resistance. Then for offhand we got the Opulent Focus with increased cast speed, necrotic and elemental resistance and critical strike multiplier. Next we got Flames of the Midnight Ring with the Ward Decay, intelligence and necrotic resistance. While for the belt we have the Chains of the Ulterus with the mana, potion slots, necrotic resistance and increased cooldown recovery. Then also we got the second ring called the Ivory Ring with increased mana regen, intelligence, necrotic resistance and ward. Then for gloves we have Eternal Gauntlets with armor, increased cast speed and more intelligence. Then for boots we have the Vayanash Chariot with armor, increased movement speed and more to all resistance. And lastly for relic we got the Twisted Heart of the Ankyros with increased health, critical strike multiplier and more to cast speed. The main playstyle is to set up a Ballista to unleash a relentless barrage of bolts that tear through enemies with ease. Empowered by our loyal Falcon via the aerial assault, we will swiftly eliminate enemies in every few seconds. Our primary source of damage comes from the Ballista, supported by the short bursts of power through the falconry. This build will thrive on fast-paced combat, combining high mobility and utility from the aerial assault, smoke bomb, falconry and decay. Just keep in mind that we want to sacrifice all of our defenses in the favor of pushing damage to its maximum limit. While no unique items are required for the build to work, it scales incredibly well with the gear. And uniques like the Antero Stand, Phantom Grip and the Morning Frost will significantly enhance its power. Overall, the Ballista Falconer is a high-impact build with tremendous damage output. It shines in various scenarios, but its aggressive nature leaves little room for error, so we want to keep a balance between damage and survivability. Let's start off with our skills, and we are going to be using the Ballista with these type of points allocated. This is our main damage dealer with these nodes that get bunch of extra effects and elements that boost our Ballista damage and provide potion sustain. Then second we get the Decoy, which is our most powerful support skill. It provides bunch of buffs for great defense, so with these nodes we extend its duration and mainly use it as a panic button for defense. Next we have Aerial Assault that we use to buff our Ballista. This setup maximizes our buff's uptime, so we use nodes that help us with cooldown recovery speed. Then also we got the Smoke Bomb, which is our main mobility tool. We use it to move around quickly, so with our nodes we added more invulnerability and few extra defensive effects. And then finally finally we're using the falconry. This is another support skill for our main playstyle. And for bonus stats, we want to add effects, so for example to fear enemies in harder fights and etc. Next up we got the passive tree, and this is how it should look like in the bow category. Then next we got our marksman category. Then also we got the blade dancer category, and then finally we're using the falconer category, with all of these points allocated like this. Next up we also have the weaver tree, and I'm still experimenting so it's not fully done, but for right now this is the most optimal way to build it for pretty much most of the builds. So we start right here, then go like this, then pretty much make this type of circle and then end it at around this point. Next up we have idols, and this is how it should look like. For more in-depth details, watch my dedicated build guide, but for the quick summary, we're using 4 heretical adorned idols with a size that is 2x2, and then also we're using 4 more small weaver idols that are size 1x1. And as far as blessing goes, this is our setup. So we are using the Grand Emptiness of Ash, then Grand Might of the Sea Titan, then the Grand Survival of the Might, then also the Grand Fury of the North, and lastly we got the Grand Spirit of the Command. And now finally we got our equipment, and for the head we're using the Bone Climber Barbute with armor, dexterity and intelligence. Then for amulet we got the Death Rattle with increased damage and increased mana regen. Then next we got the Uhtred Stand Bow with bow damage, increased critical strike chance and increased mana. Then for body armor, we got the Kestrel with dexterity, plus the max ballista and increased dodge rating. Then for quiver, we got the Zerial's Hunt with bow critical strike multiplier, dexterity and chance to apply shred on armor hit. Then for rings, we got the same two, which are the Phantom Grips, with increased critical strike chance, more to intelligence and even more dexterity. Then for belt, we got the Orion's Descent with armor, more potion slots, more mana gain on potion use and critical strike avoidance. Next we got the Arcane Braces with the armor, mana, more intelligence and dexterity. Then also we got the Morning Frost with armor, increased movement speed and minion damage. And lastly for relic we got the Melvin's Writ with the cold and fire resistance, more dexterity and more 2 levels to ballista. Our main playstyle is to call down the sacred fire through the Judgement skill, by creating a consecrated ground that scorches enemies where they stand. This build focuses on dealing fire spell damage over time through the consecrated ground, while also generating mana using vengeance. Getting multiple stacks of the concentrated ground will provide tremendous healing, which makes you incredibly hard to kill. Then Holy Aura and the Symbols of Hope will offer powerful passive bonuses, while the Healing Hands not only restore health and generate ward, but also double as your movement skill. And one of my favorite things about it is that no unique items are needed to make the build work, but it can really shine with the right gear, so I recommend to use items like the Transcriber's Graver, Wing Guards, Countenance of Mayeza, Immolator's Oblation, Twisted Heart of the Ankeros and the Orion's Eye. All of these can take the build to the next level by combining serious DPS with exceptional survivability. But as I've said, if you don't want it, then you can easily stick with the default gear. So let's start off with our skills, and we are going to be using the Judgement, which is our main spammable skill, which damages enemies and provides a lot of healing. We will use nodes that remove his cooldown, then also make it scale with more specific higher DPS effects and help us to boost even more stacks. Then second, we got the Vengeance, which is our main mana generator, thanks to these passives, and we also want to build it even for more additional tankiness. Then next we're using the Holy Aura, which is a strong support ability that provides powerful buffs. With our nodes, we mainly want to try to build even more defenses and to boost our healing effectiveness. Then next we got the Symbols of Hope that provide even more buffs, and this time it will get activated in the background, so this is a great addition. And then finally we're using Healing Hands, which is triggered from the Vengeance and Judgement, so we use nodes for additional healing, more ward and damage reduction. Next up we got the passive tree, and this is how it should look like in the Sentinel category. Then next we got our Forge Guard, then also we got the Void Knight category, and then finally we're using the Paladin category, with all of these points allocated like this. Next up we also have the Weaver tree, and I'm still experimenting so it's not fully done, but for right now this is the most optimal way to build it pretty much for most of the builds. So we start right here, then go like this, then pretty much make this type of circle and then end it at around this point. Next up we have idols, and this is how it should look like. For more in-depth details, watch my dedicated build video, but for the quick summary, we are using 3 heretical adorned Rayhan idols with a size 2x2, while also we got one more 2x2 but this time with the Throne of Ambition. And then for the last 4, we're using the small weaver idol that are size 1 by 1. And as far as blessing goes, this is our setup. So we're using the Grand Hunger of the Void, then also the Grand Rhythm of the Tide, then also the Grand Resolve of Humanity, then also the Grand Bones of Eternity, and then finally Grand Body of Obsidian. And now finally we got our equipment, and for the head we're using the Lenonian Great Helm, with armor, strength and more health. Then for amulet we got the Aronian Eye with less damage taken over time, then increased damage over time and more mana. Next we got the Transcriber's Graver with the melee damage, increased melee attack speed and spell damage. Next we got the Champion Regalia with armor, strength and more health. Then for shield we got the Contagion of the Mayesa with the block chance and block effectiveness. Then for ring we're using the Flames of the Midnight with the Ward Decay, increased healing and increased elemental damage over time. Then also we got Immolator's Ablation, and for it we got potion slots, health and even more increased health. Then for our second ring we got the Sun Brat with the fire resistance, increased healing effectiveness and increased elemental damage over time. Next we got the Wind Guards with armor, endurance and increased melee attack speed. Then also we got the Advent of the Erased with armor, increased movement speed and health. And lastly for relic we got the Twisted Heart of the Ankyros with increased health, more levels of Judgement and even more strength. So, let me know what you think about these builds in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, then you definitely don't want to miss my previous best builds tier list video, where I showed even more powerful builds. So click the screen now and I'll see you in the next one.